so I am standing timidly by the door of the motel room. He immediately turns on the television set, jiggles some dials, lies back comfortably on the mustard-colored bed covers. "Now what do you want to watch?" He gives me his usual cynical smile. He reaches for his pack of menthol cigarettes into his black silk menap pocket, where I know also lies the rock heaviness of his pistol, a phallic protrusion enveloped. He lights the cigarette and breathes it in deep, his long lashes casting flickering shadows over his half-closed eyes that are dark wet pools like Amazon swamps. "What's the matter?" As soon as the motel keys were secure in his hand, erased entirely were all traces of the man in the car, stammering back in Cantonese to my proposal to sleep together. I shrug my shoulders. I stare at him and quit wondering why I decided to do this, knowing damn well that fucking means getting dumped. For he is obscenely breathtaking in his gaudily flowered shiny blue shirt, open to mid-chest, and black pants that show off his sexy long legs. "Are you a gang member?" I had asked that first night he'd approached me at a disco. "How did you know?" He had pretended to be taken aback. Then he had boasted how he used to steal cars, how he had been in jail for selling firecrackers. "I've been to hell and back," he had stated with an innocent fluidity. He had given me a mafia-cheapened 14-karat gold chain. He was a ghetto prince, a 21-year-old gangster, with a Chinatown soul gate. He carried his pretty head cockily with that overseas Chinese street punk air. And like all nobility, he knew how to court. He knew, for example, that all women love red roses. He was always completely at your service, tugging at your elbow, whispering his compliment on your new dress. "The way you smile," he would comment, "especially when you're looking down, like this, it just kills people. It kills me." His attractiveness flattered as though it was a miracle happening to you. An older Caucasian woman at the disco had chuckled. "You should be smiling, girl. Look at that man you're with." And your ego inflated into a helium balloon that made you light and bouncy, not quite touching the ground. At the countless restaurants he took you to, he politely spooned out the erratic array of greens and spicy meats. And you fit snugly into his arm, though he was much taller, as you both walked, Ramey-high tipsy, up Columbus Avenue that faintly stunk of dead fish. He appealed to that 19-year-old virgin trapped within every woman crying to be let out. He liked to play with the energies of a child, miniature golf, films at the Alhambra, cocktails on top of the Holiday Inn, so that he brought out the child not quite outgrown within you. He has started pacing the motel room, peers into the bathroom, comes towards me. "Look, there's a kitchen," he says irritatedly. "We don't need a kitchen." I pick up 2 Nestle bags from the counter. The utensils are dirty, the pot moldy. "We can't boil water in this," I say absent-mindedly. He twists the faucet, making the hot water splash till steam rises from the sink. Mixing the brown powder, he creates a frothy, murky liquid in 2 glasses, one of which he hands to me, the other from which he sips. It's nasty. After quenching nervous thirst with the bitterness, I say, "You know, I've never gone to a motel with a man before." My voice becomes mousy, swallowing the final words. Wasn't motel sex supposed to be excitingly moment-bound, like fine music or fine wine, like poetry hanging in the air? Just checking in, checking out. No names, no addresses, no sheets remembering his smell, no deserting footsteps clicking away from my door. As he leads me to the bed, I barely notice his efficient fingers undressing me, for I am remembering what my girlfriend used to say, that she'd rather her lover be gone before dawn, before the sun's rays could expose the blemishes on his body, perfectly silken in bedroom dimness and semi-covered by satin sheets, before the obnoxious morning light could penetrate their eyelids and shine upon his now shriveled jade scepter, upon all dreams rotting sour in the humidity of the day. Wait a minute. He looks at me puzzled, as though imagining some traumatic sexual experience in my personal past, like gang rape at 12. Shirtless, he no longer appears youthfully harmless or emaciated. He looks very male, capable of male ruling and possessing. Fear is probably blatant in my expression, for he halts his fingers and instead kisses me, the way he used to kiss on our dates his sports car, a freeway gondola, parked in Marina Greens, the ocean heroin stirring in my water-sign veins. His caresses were never aggressive, a controlled sensuality through silk without the contact of raw flesh. I could smell a sweet Chinese sensibility in the baby smoothness of his skin. As though blind, I read his face with my fingertips. I sucked till a purple nipple dot stood out on his right shoulder. Only the curve of his lats confirmed the masculinity of his androgynous, small-assed body. We tickled each other, fumbling for the navel, diaphragm, ribs, tumbling onto the leather seats. His impeccably polished shoe accidentally hit the horn, and we giggled. I cover my breasts with criss-crossed wrists, but his nudging head unknots them, his mouth pressing my cleavage. He watches me with a curious, bemused smile as I tug at the sheets to cover myself to my chin. He puppy licks my breasts, my stomach, my neck. The jade from the pendant he wears so I'll look Chinese instead of Filipino, he said once, falls into my mouth, and we lick the cold candy stone, sharing the jewel in our momentarily joined mouths. I tell myself that I never expected to enjoy him for long. The scenario was fixed. But my heart pounded anyway when I stole glances into the faces of young Grant Avenue men whose glossy layered hair suddenly appeared alike, miniature lightning striking my chest in petty masochism every time I half feared, half hoped catching him holding another girl before the colorful shop windows with that same gentle charm. And maybe it was to protect myself that I told him that I was much older than he was, that I was engaged to a doctor who had to perform surgery every weekend. He had merely injected a kindness into his tone. I understand why you want to be cautious. Trust has to be earned. Let me show you it can be different. Then he had watched confidently as my sarcasm had melted away into girlishness within his arms. I want you to see for yourself, he had added, squinting slightly, perching a cigarette between his lips. I'd lied. I wasn't 29, but 25. I was in grad school in psychology and I was living with a school teacher.